Hi everyone, I'm Gautam aka The Seeker of Wisdom. I'm a manifestation coach, and in this video, we're going to be talking a little bit about dating rules and what I think about society's perceptions on dating with regards to both men and women. Now, before I do so, I'd like to remind you guys I am available for coaching, so I offer hourly, monthly, email, and DM coaching. The link will be in the description down below for an FAQ page where you guys will have all the answers you need, and thereafter, you guys can reach out to me via Instagram or email for pricing information and to figure out what plans may be suitable for you. I also have a Facebook group where I upload resources from time to time, as well as you guys can ask me questions anonymously if you wish to do so. Make sure that you answer the two questions and agree to the group rules. Otherwise, my moderators will decline you with feedback. And I also have a mailing list where I post articles from time to time, as well as my latest offers for coaching. And last but not least, I also have a upcoming Manifest Your SP course, which is designed for veterans and beginners alike, which takes you from the beginning of your manifestation journey with SP till the end of it. Now, what's neat about it is that when you do purchase it, you will have it for lifetime, and you will get those upgrades for free. So be sure to check that out, guys. I will have more information really soon. So without further ado, guys, let's get to this. So what kind of prompted this video was actually one of my best friends was asking me to do this for a while now, and that is to talk about things like dating rules and just things about like what society thinks and how they can kind of overcome it with like the law of assumption, for example. And that's what I really want to talk about. Like there are things that perceptions that people have over time about how the opposite sex behaves, right? Like, okay, if it's a man, they behave XYZ way, for example. Or if it's a woman, men thing, okay, they will behave such and such way. And that has kind of been ingrained in us. And what happens sometimes is that people try to predict their potential partner or their partner's moves, and they kind of move in their own way, and that gets interpreted in another way, and chaos ensues, right? Dating is almost like it sometimes becomes like a game of chess sometimes, right? Like we're trying to think two moves ahead of that person, and like we are trying to move our own pieces and on the table, and it's like it really becomes a game of like unpredictability, and like I feel like no one really benefits from the whole situation, and it's like, well, what's exactly going on? And that's what I kind of want to break is and this not just applies for dating, by the way. This applies for a lot of things, right? Like if you read the 48 powers of law, for example, there are so many rules, right? But I think the one thing that can override all of this is your thoughts, right? If you persist in the assumption that you already have something, or if you come at it from the state of mind that you are now this person, it just kind of everything just shifts in your way, regardless of whether or not you apply these so-called rules. Like that's the message that I want you guys to take away from this is, if you hold on to that identity of a confident person, someone who always gets what they want, someone who always has that clear state of mind, and someone who's not shaken up by the 3D. Like if you're doing all these kinds of things, like everything will shift into your favor. Basically everything will be favorable for you, right? Be it in dating or in other parts of your life as well. So how does one go about this, right? Like how does one kind of ignore the dating rules and just kind of just go by their own way? Well, the first thing to do is to just trust in yourself, right? Just trust in yourself. Like I think a lot of people these days don't trust in themselves as much, because they think that, okay, like my opinions don't have any value, right? More so than like what others have to say. When others say something, they probably should know better than me, so you know what, I'm going to listen to them. And people come at it from that perspective, and people think like, no matter how much they learn, it's never enough. And it also comes from things like, maybe like things from childhood probably, right? So their confidence level sometimes is not up there. So the first thing to do is to trust yourself. Always trust and intend that you will always make the right decisions. I feel like that's really important. So always trust yourself, guys. And second thing is, if it goes against your values in any way. For example, if it doesn't resonate with you, right? Um, don't take it. You don't have to accept it. You don't have to accept it. You don't have to feel attacked, or you don't have to feel threatened by it, right? If a post says, all men f boys, for example, right? That is not true. Like, you don't have to accept it, for example, right? And the same applies for women as well. Like, if a guy sees something about women in general, that's not true. That does not apply to all women, for example, right? And the way it plays out in the dating world is, it starts in the texting side of things, right? Also, you can't immediately reply to messages, for example. Like, who made that rule? Literally, like, who made that rule? Like, it doesn't have to be that way. Like, you can, go and message that person, and as long as you're coming at it from a genuine place of love, you should be fine. Like, what's the worst that could happen, right? Like, when you're coming at it from a place of love, right, and you're not coming at it from a place of fear. When you're coming at it from a genuine sense of love, right, and you're just expressing, whatever you want to with sincerity. Trust me when I say this, it'll always pay off, right? If it doesn't, the only reason is because your underlying thought there was manipulation. If you're thinking, well, I'm gonna, like, test the waters, I'm gonna try to figure this guy out or girl out, I'm just gonna, like, just give them a hint and let them come after me, and those types of, like, when you start playing games, that's when they start playing games as well, and it becomes, like a power play kind of situation where, like, you are doing things, and they are doing, and, like, yeah, it's just, yeah, it's really not a great way to be handling a potential relationship, in my opinion. So if you're going to text them and do so from a place of love. So trust in yourself, do things from a place of love, right? And you will never go wrong, right? If you're using your phone and they text you, you are allowed to reply them back. Like, there's again that rule, right? Oh, you have to wait for a couple of minutes, or you have to wait for a while, so that they don't think you're desperate. You thinking, I don't want them to think I am desperate, is what's exactly going to lead you to them thinking you are desperate, if you get my point, right? In the act of not trying to be something, you become the very thing, right? Like, if you say, like, if you're, say, okay, I should not be scared, I should not be scared, guess what? You're going to be scared. If you say, like, oh, I shouldn't fall off this ledge, I shouldn't fall off this ledge, guess what? You're going to fall off the ledge, because your entire focus is on that. Rather, you should focus on the union with this person, right? This person likes me, and rather than coming at it from, I hope this person does does not say no to me, for example, or I hope this person um, like, say, doesn't say, no to when I ask them for a date, for example, things like that, right? Focus on what you want. You can say, I hope this person says a yes, or I intend that this person says a yes to me all the time, and things like that. Come at it from that perspective, because that's going to help you. So come up with favorable rules, and expect the best, and and come at it from that perspective. Like, be genuine as much as possible, because that's going to, at the end of the day, when you are genuine, even if, like, at that moment things may go unfavorably for you, eventually they're going to notice that. They're going to be like, hey, you know what, this person was very genuine, this person was very honest, and you have nothing to hide. And even if you're pretending to be someone you're not, remember, like, it's going to fade away in a couple of months, and you're going to have to show your true self at one point. So when you're genuine, it takes the guesswork out of the thing, and they will start to feel more comfortable as well. When you're genuine, you're coming at it from a place of love. Remember, words can lie, but energy does not, right? So come at it from a genuine place as much as possible. You intend the best, and you say whatever you'd like to, and you just go with the flow. So that's the way I would do it. Like, rather than, like, really, like, putting too much emphasis on dating rules per se. um, and like, the other thing I wanted to talk about was discussing it with friends. I love this because I have a lot of female friends, and a lot of my clients are ladies as well. So one thing I noticed was, this doesn't happen with guys a lot, as far as I notice. Forgive me if I sound very stereotypical here, because that is not my intention here. Before I even go into it, I'm simply stating an observation as a coach, as a guy. But at the end of the day, take what resonates, leave the rest. I'm just a guy, another guy on the internet, right? So here's the thing. I notice this with ladies a lot, is that for some reason, when they tell their female best friends, it always does not seem to be a good thing. Like, what I mean is, like, when, let's say, this girl gets together with a guy and they start seeing each other, and apparently there's a new word that I just learned recently. Apparently there's this thing called situationship, the before relationship or something. I don't know what is it, but whatever. You guys, like, if you're dating, in the dating phase of things, and you go tell your uh, you know bestie, like your best female best friend or something like that, right? Like, and most of the time what seems to be the case is, these so-called friends seem to always plant doubts and fears into these people. So they will say something like, hey, you just better be careful, these guys are always like that. At first they will start off like very sweet and everything, but you know what, he seems like a complete f-boy, and things like that. And so then what happens is, these people start to think, oh my god, maybe he is, and they start giving attitude to this person, or worse, they start believing it, and they start like trying to, and some even pick arguments with these people. I kid you not, I've literally heard of stories like that. And I'm like, so you're gonna ruin something very nice just because someone said, okay, this person could be that, even before you know it, right? And I seen this, like, these kinds of things, and this was just like a very generic example, by the way. Like, when people share something to their best friends, like, they share a lot of like things, like sometimes even intimate stuff with these people. And what I notice is that when that happens, like, people still plant doubts in other people's minds, in their best friends' minds, and that manifests itself in disastrous ways when people go and like talk to their like, not spouse, like, sorry, SPs, or their partners in any way, and it's like really, like, it really messes with the whole relationship thing, right? So what I would say is that when you are in a relationship with the person, definitely you can share the happiness with a friend. I mean, that's completely fine, but don't uh, put their opinions on a pedestal. Like, I'm not saying don't ever get an opinion on things. I mean, sometimes you really need to. Like, I was just joking with my friend. Next time because he is going like to get engaged and is going to get married soon and things like that. So I was like, dude, I'm going to like consult you in the future and those kinds of things. Like, that's fine. Like, that's completely different. Like, if you are going and like taking it as, okay, hey, how should I go about this, like, that's still fine. But like, don't put anyone's opinion on a pedestal, because everyone's experiences are super unique to them and only them. Sure, like, you can take pointers, but don't put it on a pedestal where it overrides your own ability to think and take action, right? Don't let it override anything. Don't let it override your decision making process, because that's what a lot of people do. And I've seen this with a lot of my female best friends. I've seen this with a lot of my clients, where they will listen to their best friends and they will do something that potentially could blow up in their face, and unsurprisingly it does. And I'm thinking, why aren't you following your own gut instinct, or why aren't you following your own intuition, and why aren't you expecting and assuming the best? Why are you rather like reacting based on someone else's opinion, right? And the worst part is, you may not even know if it's true or not, if your assumptions are even true or not. So who has the last laugh here, right? Who is benefiting here, right? And I know sometimes like people like to discuss problems, and like quote unquote like spicy stories, but like, is that truly the types of conversations you like to have? Is something you guys need to think about. Like, I'm not attacking anyone here, but these are types of things like I've noticed like time and time again. It's like a trend, and when people aren't building each other up, when people are planting doubts, that's a huge red flag for me. Like, I would be avoiding those kinds of companies, or I would definitely revise those conversations in my head, and definitely make an effort to steer those conversations elsewhere, right? So like, this doesn't happen with guys that often. I know some guys do that. It happens in a very different way with guys, but I'll explain it as well. but this doesn't happen with guys, where like guys are planting doubts, right? But what guys do, I feel, is they, try to, I guess, have like, I guess, rules to kind of protect themselves. That is what I've noticed with guys. Like there are quote unquote rules that kind of protects them from things like, like, for example, or make sure that you stand your ground. When it comes to a decision, don't let her make any decision, or don't show any emotions, because she's going to think you are, so on and so forth. I don't want to say the p word here. You guys will probably know. And those kinds of things, right? Or you should not cry. You should be a man. You should toughen up, and like, women only come to men for like money and protection and those kinds of things, right? Like, and they use like evolution and things like that. I'm not saying it's not true. Like again, like all these dating things, like whether it's applicable to men or women, I'm not saying none of them have any precedence to it, or none of them hold any that none of that. I'm not saying that they are baseless, but I'm saying don't let those things override and paralyze your decision making skills, and your don't let them blind you in your own relationship, because every relationship is unique, every person is unique, and the things that goes on in each relationship is so different from the other that you can't possibly predict it. And rather than using dating rules as a way to kind of predict the game and to get an upper hand, what I'm saying is you're shooting yourself on the foot, essentially. And the best way to go about this is to, override those things in your mind. Then what happens tragically is that sometimes people see the SPs as something that they are not, right? Like, this person is only here with me because of so and so. They are probably going to leave me. I don't believe that they actually love me. And this happens when, even when the SP actually says, "Hey, I love you," for example. Like, I've seen that. And so, like, it really, and it also makes them feel angry about the SP, especially when they start to go cold, because of the current assumptions that these people have. And they're like, well, how could they do this? And they put more pressure on the SP and things like that, right? So those kinds of things inevitably happen. So if you are looking into dating rules, like, take them with a huge grain of salt, right? Just because it applies to society in general doesn't mean it applies to everyone, right? Recently, there was this video going very viral on TikTok, I think, and was also shared on Facebook, which was where I saw it. Like, a guy buying McDonald's for his kid, and the mother of the child not letting the guy see his child and things like that, because he only bought McDonald's for just his kid, and this woman had kids with other guys too. So, like, those kinds of things. And he's like, people are saying like, oh, there were people on both sides of the argument, and like, all the dating rule stuff came, and they were like, this is why you don't date women with kids. See what happens now, you have to provide for all of them, and things like that, right? And here's the thing, well, like, not every mother is like that, like, not every woman with a kid is like that, right? Like, I'm just saying, right? um, those are rules, like, that, okay, you see what they will always do, or and things like that, right? There are rules that, or like, there are some perceptions about like certain race people, okay, they will do XYZ, or guys from certain race will do XYZ, or girls from certain race will do XYZ, and so on and so forth. Like, there's that dynamic sometimes too. And also, what else I'm thinking right now? Yeah, so initially there's the rule of, like, maybe, when you are first starting to initiate, maybe the guy must say that I love you, or sometimes the guys will expect the girls to say, and things like that, for example. Like, those things happens too. And yeah, so like, oh, another thing is, like, if your partner is talking to a member of the opposite sex, like, so if you're a woman and your partner is talking to another woman, like, if you get threatened, that's one thing too, right? I mean, that ultimately has to do with like self-concept, but like, when you go and discuss it, like, with your friends, or when you see like, okay, what does this mean, in the dating language, if you will, and they are like, oh, you this person may just see you as an option, for example, and then you immediately feel threatened and insecure and so on. Like, don't let those kinds of things, like, you can just say that, okay, you know what, they have friends too, like from the opposite sex, it's all cool. And you also often have to come at it from that perspective, right? So it's these kinds of rules that I sometimes see. Again, also the rule of like who pays on the first date. I still can't figure that out. Like, if you guys know something, like, let me know. But really, jokes aside, like, it varies, right? Like, there was this British like dating show. I forgot what it was called, but I remember like there was this couple, like they will like set up people to like on a first date or something. At the end of the day, like, sometimes the woman will pay, sometimes the men will pay, sometimes the guy will insist so much that the woman and the guy kind of split, right? Sometimes the woman will expect the guy to pay, but the guy will split, right? So it really varies from person to person, is what I mean. Like, there is no set of rules that applies for one person perfectly. So what I'm saying is, use them like a very rough guideline, and take only that which resonates, and leave the rest. Because if it doesn't resonate with you, don't let it sit in your head and go, could that be true? Right? Don't do that to yourself, because when that happens is when the poison seeps in, as I would like to say. So really, don't do that to yourself. If you're going into something, right, go into this with faith and love for that person, right? This person could be potentially be your partner, and you are here to figure that out with them. So why don't you take some time to actually, go into this with love, see how you guys connect, talk about the things that you love, hear what they say about what they love, and like do things together and have a good time and enjoy life, rather than making this a, you know think of like a cat and mouse kind of thing, right? So don't do that to yourself based on the dating rules that you see. And certainly don't use these kinds of rules in general to kind of shape your perception about men or women, right? About the opposite sex in general, right? Don't let any videos make you feel, you know what, all women are like this. I There was this one there's this thing called the red pill movement. I'm not sure if how many of you are familiar with it, but essentially, like, no offense to them, no disrespect to those guys. Like, essentially, they talk about one of the topics that they talk about, and they talk about various different things about how dating works and everything, right? So they'll talk about, being in polyamorous relationships. They'll talk about how women is supposed to be at home, do things, and not go out, and things like that. And like, I'm like, as I was watching one of those videos, like, it just came up in my feed. So I was really curious to find out, okay, so what is this, like, what exactly are they talking about? And it goes like, okay, if you don't have your woman in the house or something like that, then that means, and things like that, basically. And I was like, well, where are those perceptions coming from? That doesn't seem to come from a place of love, right? It seems like control, and it comes from a place of almost fear-based, if I may, because that shows, like, they have to contain their partner, and if not, they will just run away with another man or something like that. That's what it means. And what it does is that for a guy, it makes him like very paranoid towards things. Like, that is definitely not the way to live life. Like, and I just feel, and also like the thing about prenup, for example, right? Like, that always comes up. Like, as a guy, like, that's often spoken about as well. Like, even if she does this, like, why are you going to that? Like, why do you, even if she divorces or something, like, why do we even go to that place in the first place, right? I mean, sure, like, there's precedence to that for sure. Like, it's like signing a car insurance, like anything. And of course, like, as a guy, like, there's also that acquisition of, like, okay, guys suffering more when it comes to like a divorce, for example. But don't even look to a divorce in the first place. You get what I mean? So like, these dating things are like rules sometimes, like, they are so extreme that I guess the intention of it is to protect that gender or a specific gender, but in the process it's so extreme that I feel like sometimes it closes off people, right? And that is something that I feel like is limiting people. And I know I spoke about marriage briefly as well, but like it also applies for dating and like just rules in general, right? And I feel that people are not just coming from a place of love as much as they should, if that makes sense. Rather, they are using all these kind of dating rules, and they are so unsure about that person sometimes even, but they still kind of go with the flow. And of course there are many layers to these kinds of things as always, but like don't, like if you have a good thing going on right now, if you're looking for a potential good thing, like don't ruin it by like applying rules to it, like that are intended for like the broad masses, right? Like you take what resonates and leave the rest. And like don't think, when you read something, don't think like, okay, could this be my guy? If they say, okay, why men cheat, for example, and you don't read it with the mindset of, okay, could this be my guy or could this be my woman? Like don't do that to yourself, don't do that to yourself, because if you do, you're never, because whatever you assume becomes true, right? And if you assume something with a high level of conviction, even if it's not true, then it has to come to fruition, and then it becomes your fault, right? So my advice is this: go into this with a genuine sense of love, trust the process, right? Set favorable rules for yourself, and you keep going until it shows up. Like envision and think about only the best case scenario, and you keep going, right? And you keep going until it hardens into fact. That's it, right? So you just persist in the assumption that it's already true, and you just keep going until it hardens into fact. That's it. So yeah, honestly guys, like don't let any rules like shake you. Certainly don't let any friends' words kind of shake you as well. Like at the end of the day, you just follow your heart, you intend for the best, and you aim for the best, and you keep going. And because this is your reality has to conform to all those things. So you just keep going with faith, and this has to conform, and like whatever you're going through has to succeed. Like people will conform to everything. And yeah guys, like you got this. Again, just don't let any dating rules shake you from now. You like daringly say, when you look at something and if it doesn't resonate with you, and you be like, no, that's not me. And you can just say that, and no, this doesn't apply for everyone, and just cancel it in your mind, and you keep going and you keep going. And whatever you give is what you get. So when you give love, you're going to get love, right? How you perceive your SP or your partner is how they see you. So think favorably as much as you can, and keep going, keep persisting guys. I always like to have general rules, like everyone loves me, everyone always treats me like a king, and things like that, right? Those are like affirmations that I always tell myself, and I also tell my clients about that. So like tell yourself those kinds of loving affirmations, and like prime your mind to be in a reality where you guys are always treated with all the love in the world, and where you guys are always treasured, and you just keep going, and your SP, your partner, has to conform. So guys, yeah, that's all. Hope this resonated with you. If it resonated, please drop a like and a comment down below. Also share it on your Instagram stories, or elsewhere as well, so that it may reach as many people as possible. Be sure to turn on the bell icon, so that you guys know when I upload a new video every single week. Be sure to subscribe guys, because it really goes a long way for me. So guys, thank you for watching. Stay safe and happy manifesting. Peace.